Hello, everyone. We're back with our SEO Leadership webinar, and today we have Katerina Clark, the Head of Optimizations at The Economist. How are you today, Katerina?
Good, thank you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday is right. Are you looking forward to the weekend?
Yeah, actually, I got today off and I'm off on Monday. So for me, it's like a 4-day weekend. And yeah, very excited.
Oh, you're very lucky, and appreciate you doing this webinar when you're off. Shows dedication anyway.
Thank you.
But yeah, just for the viewers, to start us off, would you like to tell us how your journey began, how you got into the SEO industry, and where you are today, all the roads you've went through, and what you've done?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Armenia. I moved in the US in 2010. So back in Armenia, my parents were entrepreneurs. They had a jewelry shop. So I was helping them with selling products, taking pictures. I created a website for them. So, like, from an early age, I knew I wanted to be in marketing. And so, when I came here, I studied marketing. I did my bachelor's, and it was about the last year of college when I was doing some internships in marketing. But one of my professors, she invited us to this conference. It was, I believe it was Ad Age conference, and Febreze air refresheners was there, and they had a case study about SEO that they presented. And that was the first time I heard about SEO. I had never heard of SEO, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. It's so interesting. I would love to get into SEO. And it was like making this wish out loud. And right after college, I started getting job offers for SEO. My first one was for this big e-commerce site in-house. I was working for them. And right after that, I kind of like started getting into the agency world. I worked for a lot of big agencies in the city, New York City. Um, and then I just kind of jumped off from being an agency side to right now being in-house at The Economist.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And you've recently joined The Economist, so how's that going so far for yourself?
It's been, honestly, it's been only a month, but it does feel like it's been longer just because it wasn't kind of like a lot of other companies I work for. There's like this whole transition period, there's trainings and things like that. Here, you like really jump into like strategy and working, and it's a very busy time for The Economist in terms of season, the holidays and campaigns. So it was really like in the weeds right away.
So thrown straight into the deep end. And what was your onboarding process like for The Economist? It's a huge topic we talk across our webinar just to see the difference in onboarding because onboarding is effectively, setting up your future at the company. So what was that process like?
To begin with the interview, it was very quick, which I was so surprised. Usually, like, I've interviewed for so many companies and it takes so long. You get ghosted. You never hear back. With The Economist, it was probably took the whole process was 1 month. Uh,
Okay.
Very good communication. The recruiter was amazing. I only had like probably 3 total interview calls, and then I got the offer. And the onboarding too, like I said, it's been only a month, but I feel like I'm already kind of uh, already actioning and being part of the strategy. So things have been really, really fast.
That's fast. We love speed at SEO for hard, just get things done. But and what's your current team structure like?
Right now, each department has a head. Um,
Mhm.
so head of paid, you have head of social. I'm the head of optimizations, and what head of optimizations really means is optimizing the website, optimizing the app, working with Apple News and Google News, and just anything with optimizations, whether it's conversion rate, A/B testing. Um, I think it's very different structure from what I'm used to. On the agency side, it's more like vertical, where
Mhm.
you have a boss and you report to your boss, versus here it's more like horizontal. And it's really nice because it feels like everyone is kind of like equal, and we collaborate a lot. There's more sync and integration. Um, so yeah, I think it's it's not necessarily, sometimes, it depends on the person. Like some people prefer the agency structure versus in-house, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's a big debate, I suppose. Both have their positive and negatives, but and is your team at the moment fully remote? Is it hybrid in office? What structure's that?
They used to be remote. Now we are pushing like everyone else back to office. Am I a big fan? I wouldn't say so, but 2 days a week, it's better than 5 days. So,
Yeah,
and everyone is flexible. I mean, I have 3 kids, so my boss is amazing. If I say school is closed this week and it'll be hard for me to commute, or I have very early calls because I work with the UK team, they're very understanding. So it's very nice to work in such an environment versus having this anxiety that you have to commute for 2 hours, get into the office, and then come home very late. Your kids are asleep, you're missing out. I think a lot of companies don't understand how stressful commute is now after being during COVID working from home for so long. And I don't know, I personally don't think we need to try to go back to how it was. We need to be accepting that it's changing, and hybrid is definitely much better, and I think a lot of people would agree with that.
yes, that's true. Hybrid, you get the best of both worlds. So, being it was fully remote, now it's going into hybrid. How did you maintain the motivation within your team, specifically when it's remote and you're not in person, and also just newly joining the company? How did you maintain that motivation to make sure your team were moving forward and all following the correct strategy?
So, to be honest, this is my first kind of back to the office role since COVID. When COVID happened and we went remote, I was working at American Express at that time, so I was working from home. And after that, I was working for a pet insurance company. Also, I was remote. So I think for me, I was kind of like comfortable. You were in the comfort zone, don't want to get out of the house, you're wearing sweatpants. But I've always remind myself that I need to get out of the comfort zone. I need to, uh, I'm doing this for myself, I'm doing this for my kids to see that, how important work is. And here, mommy's going to the office. One day you will be doing that. So being a good example. And I think a lot of people need to understand that there's a lot of pros and cons you have to give. And some people now, with a lot of the layoffs happening, are saying, well, I only want a remote job. I'm not going to apply to these jobs that want me to go in the office. No way. And you're just creating these walls and missing out on opportunities just because it requires you to commute. So it's hard, but I think, people need to give and take.
100%. And as you said about being a good leader, during that, could you give us 3 to 4 traits on what makes a good leader? Because as you would know yourself, leadership requires management, and often sometimes with management comes micromanagement. And you know yourself, there can be quite a lot of mix-ups within a leadership style. But personally, what would you think would create a good leader? What traits?
Yeah, speaking of micromanagements, I was micromanaged, and it's the worst thing that you can do to any human being. I'm very against it. I think a good leader is somebody who puts the team first. They don't think just about themselves, but they think about how to grow the team. My best boss that till this day I love him so much was Tim Eschenauer at Mindshare, and he had created this team that he labeled our team the dream team. Everywhere he would go, he would say, "This is the dream team." We had a Slack channel, the dream team. And he would not micromanage us. He would give us a lot of freedom. He would make sure that we're growing and being promoted. Like every year, somebody would get promoted in our team. So I think it's very important as a leader to believe and trust your team and allow them to grow, not cut their wings off, but say, okay, yes, I am. Let's say you're at the time director or vice president, you shouldn't feel competitive about it and say, well, if I promote the manager, at some point they'll reach to my level and they might take my role. Like, you shouldn't think about leadership that way. You've come to that point. Now allow other people to grow and learn from you to get to the point that you are in. And they might let go and find another job and find a better opportunity, but you should be happy for them if they find another opportunity, not like, well, I don't want you searching for another role and learning from me and getting better and growing. So yeah.
Perfect. And as you stated, you don't like micromanagement, and it's because you've probably experienced it in your career at some stage, which is a blessing in disguise itself, because it means you know not to do certain traits and fall into a slippery path in becoming a micromanager. But from our audience, quite a lot of SEO managers and leaders do listen. So this next question is to sort of help them out. I'm sure at one stage in your career you've had to give constructive criticism to a team member, and quite often when you're given it, you can slip into that micromanagement leadership role. So, is there any tips you would have in effectively giving constructive criticism? How not to come across as a micromanager, so that team member can learn from it, opposed to take offense to it?
I mean, I think it depends who it's coming from. Like, if the CEO came to me and told me you're not meeting your goals, obviously I would be crushed and cry probably for a couple of days and heartbroken. But if it came from my boss, who I meet twice a week, we talk on Slack all the time, and there's a relationship built, like, you need to build a relationship before you can criticize a person, right? So if my boss came to me and said, hey, I think there's room for improvement in X, Y, and Z, and this is what you should do. Like, then I would be like, oh, this person wants me to improve and get better, and it's giving me like advice. Then it's not criticism, it's a way to help you. Okay, I always want to know, like, even when you're interviewing, like, a lot of the interviews will happen and you don't know why they didn't pick you. It would have been great if I got some kind of criticism and said, well, we picked this person because they were better at this and this. So criticism should be accepted and should be welcomed by people. But I think from anyone that's giving the criticism, they need to build the relationship first and come from a good place versus judgmental place.
I agree. So it's all about building that level of respect, to say. So
Yeah.
when you have that level of respect, it will be taken constructively, opposed to absolutely crushing someone on their hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
But and then, and on the other hand, if you're building out a team yourself, or you have a team, say, beneath you, how do you go about, what would be an A player in your eyes within an SEO team? What characteristics would they have to be a good team player? Because being an A player often does lead to career progression. So, what characteristics would an A player have in your eyes, or that you've experienced in this role or past roles?
I think the A player shouldn't be competitive. They should be somebody who's very social and friendly and funny, and at the same time very confident, right? Like, if somebody came to me and said, oh, you can get 473 new conversions in 31 days if you implemented a mega navigation, I'll be like, wow, like, this person is so precise, they're so confident, they know what they're talking about, like this. And I think, being confident and being also kind of like a salesperson, because SEO is basically like sales in a way. And even knowing deep inside that you're not sure if that's true or not, it might not happen. But like, when you come to the stage on a call, during a presentation, and you say it and you put a period, and everyone in the room is like, this person knows what they're talking about. They're not somebody that will say, I'll get back to you. I think
Mhm.
that's an A player.
Perfect. And then the A player says looking to progress, and often with progression, it's into a managerial role or a leadership role of some kind. And for yourself, being in a leadership role, did you naturally know that that was the next step in your progression to enter a leadership role? Did it come naturally? How did you sort of decide that it was time to go into that leadership role for yourself?
I mean, when I got my first job in an agency, I loved it so much and I was so happy. I remember getting that job and working there, and I was like, that's it. I'm content. I don't need anything else. This is it. And then couple of I think years later, I got a recruiter reach out to me and offered to me a higher title, higher salary. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I went to my boss then and I said, I got an offer. And I was so sure that they're gonna match it and they're gonna keep me because I was like so good at my job. And my boss said, oh, we're so sad to let go of you, but we're happy for you that, for this new role. And I was like so crushed. I was like, wait, what? I'm replaceable? They're not gonna keep me. And I was very mad at my boss at that time. I even remember my goodbye letter did not include their name. I was just such a kid at that time, but it was time because I knew again, like when it comes to the comfort zone, it was me getting out of the comfort zone, understanding that everyone is replaceable, but also at the same time, you need to grow. And since then, it was kind of like it opened the door for me, and I started growing naturally into my career. And yeah, it's just being open to new opportunities is very important.
Completely agree with everything you said there, and sort of the last few questions we spoke about can be rounded off and can be controlled by company culture. I suppose the leadership role. It all depends on how the company operates. As you said, you're in a flat hierarchy now compared to that large pyramid hierarchy of command. So, past roles being in your new role, what I suppose what would you say is a good company culture? What experiences have you had with past and current role that has made you think, this is a really good company culture? If I was ever to start up my own company, freelance and had employees, this is the type of company culture I would want to have.
I think big agencies do a really good job when it comes to culture. I remember at IPG Media Brands when I was working there. That's when I was crushed. I had a really amazing office. We had one floor that was Starbucks. It was free Starbucks any time of the day. You can go, you come in, you get your morning coffee, free snack. The furniture and the interior was amazing. Like you can be just like laying on a really cool velvet sofa and working from there with a nice view of the city. They also brought in a gym. We had a free pass to the gym. You can work out. There was free yoga. We had um, wine tasting after work. So there was a lot happening. They opened a beer garden. It was kind of almost like they were trying to keep employees there from morning till night. Like, don't want
Yeah,
to leave the office. But that was also a great culture from all the benefits you get, but at the same time, there was so much politics on an agency side, right? So being in-house now, you might not get so many benefits and free snacks and things like that, but there's more, I think, focus on people and less politics and really getting the work done and then going back home and being with your family versus spending so much time on well, I have to stay for this happy hour and all of that stuff.
so it's more work life balance orientated
Yeah.
opposed to throw free stuff at someone and hope that they stay in longer to do more work, which, as you would know yourself, can cause a burnout, which in the long run is just not good whatsoever. And regardless of being agency or in-house, all companies have a shared vision and goal. So how do you align a team in order to make sure everyone's striving for the same goal? Obviously you have to implement a strategy. And I suppose being remote, it's a bit more difficult being able to do that now. Thankfully, you're going back into a hybrid model, but being remote, how do you ensure your entire team's all working towards the same company goal and strategy?
I think it has to be in the person. It has to be inside of them. So I know I'm doing my job because I want this brand, this company to succeed, to see great results. That's something I put into my portfolio, that I've done this amazing job and I was good at what I was doing. I am hoping that all my team members, all the people I worked in the past, they want to achieve the same thing. They're doing this because they want to learn, they want to grow, they want to put something amazing in their portfolio. If you don't have that, it's going to be hard for me to hold your hand and take you up the stairs with me. You probably will stay down there, or find something else that you might like doing more. But it has to be, it's not something you can teach, it's not something you can influence or force into somebody. It has to be in the person. That's why I think it's very important during interview process to ask some of those questions and find that A-level person that is gonna drive success for you.
Completely agree. Thank you for answering. Now, just going into SEO and optimization as an overall topic, this is a question we love to ask. Do you think the SEO industry now, it is ever changing, as you know yourself, and there's constantly something new and update. Everyone's getting hit back, and you have to keep moving forward. But within the industry overall, do you think that there's not to say a gap in the market, but something that everyone should be focusing on at the moment, because it's going to have a huge consequence in the future, or it's going to be more important than it is now in the future? Is there anything that everyone should focus on?
I think everyone should kind of accept that search has evolved, that search results have changed and are going to change. They need to stop kind of hating and blaming on Google and accept that now with AI, it's getting more competitive. It's very hard to rank. Behavior, how people search has changed. So try to focus on things that are going to drive success, think outside the box, and don't spend so much time on, there will be a lot of times I'll hear where an agency, even a startups, would recommend 10 different things to a client. They would say, well, you need to change metadata, you need to optimize your page speed, all this old style SEO. And then they will complain that the client didn't implement any of that stuff. It's been a year and everything is still like not done, and it's really not their fault. It is the client's fault. And I think this creates this like toxic SEO mindset that we need to really move away from and look at new opportunities and just understand that this is now, and you need to think about how the future is going to be even more competitive. So like, how do we think outside the box and drive success?
Perfect. Thank you very much. And so recently we released the SEO interview blueprint, and essentially what it is, it's how to optimize a CV, interview prep, and stuff. But one thing that we stress in it is personal branding. So the likes of yourself coming on a webinar, going to networking events, and one thing that we always ask candidates to do if they can is a portfolio. So you have a portfolio as well. So what would you say the importance of having a portfolio? Because I suppose if you get business through that, you can learn external things that you would do your current role, which will help you become more rounded. So what would you say the importance of personal branding and having a likes of that portfolio or affiliate site or anything like that helps you move forward within your SEO career?
I didn't have a portfolio until like last year. I was applying for a job, and the person that was interviewing me had a website when I looked them up before the interview, and she was graduated in Harvard, and her portfolio was like so inspiring, like about her, all the work she's done. She was more like on the journalism side, so it was obviously her writing was amazing, but it was very interesting to like see somebody on that side have a portfolio. I always thought portfolio is like for copywriters, or like if you're doing some kind of like video and things like that. So a lot of SEOs don't build website because a lot of the work we do, we can't really showcase it because there's obviously personal data for the clients that we sign compliance that we're not allowed to share. And so I for another reason why in my portfolio I had to put a password on the actual work. But
I did notice that, yes.
yeah, after seeing that, I was like, well, this is really cool. And I think nowadays, every interview, every company expects that you have some kind of work to share, some kind of portfolio. So I think it's important for everyone to create that.
Definitely, yeah, I agree. And then just sort of as we were talking about work-life balance earlier on, you have a YouTube channel, which home decor and creativity. Would you like to talk a bit about that with us?
It was more of a hobby. Couple years ago, I wanted to do something outside of work that I really enjoy. I love home decor. I probably change furniture around the house like 2 or 3 times a day, and my husband really hates it, but yeah, it's something I like to do on the side. I haven't actually posted or updated in a long, long time. I think maybe when I retire, that'll be something I'll get back to. But it's
Uh,
nice to have a hobby.
Definitely. And did you ever find that having that hobby and like home tech decor requires a lot of creativity? Did you ever find inspiration from just your hobby to bring into work, in a content oriented way or just creative way?
I was inspired by the people. So I was interviewing a lot of interior designers and going into their projects and seeing the houses they built and how they decorate. So I was kind of, it's obviously very different from SEO, but the people, the way they, how they were being creative, I think I took some little bits of, from them into my career, into my personality as I was evolving as a person. And yeah, I think maybe it did help me in a way. I don't think I've never stopped to like think about it, but it was just fun for me.
Just fun, just a hobby that you enjoyed, escapism, I suppose. You know, everyone needs that to disconnect from work and go
Yeah.
do something you like. And then just to round it off, because I can't believe it's it's near finished already, but just for our viewers, especially specifically maybe the SEO executive roles, maybe thinking about doing that jump to management and stuff. Can you give any advice to younger SEOs, just in their career, what to focus on, and what type of personality traits and characteristics to have in order to ensure moving forward, in the best possible way?
Yeah, I would say the biggest advice I would give is don't focus on a niche. Like, don't say I would never work for an insurance company or pharma, right? If I ever said that, I wouldn't have been where I am now. One of my jobs I applied for was for automobile, Jaguar and Land Rover. I worked for them. I didn't even have a driving license. I didn't know anything about car parts, but I learned so much. And I think being exposed to different industries is important because SEO is different, right? If you do SEO for an insurance agency versus SEO for a publisher, which is my first industry I've been as a for a publisher company, you learn so much because it's very different. The way you build a strategy, the way people search, and the behavior is different. So you need to expose yourself to as many industries, different companies as you can, so that you can train yourself and learn about SEO, because people don't learn SEO in college. Unfortunately, it's not like a topic that they teach
Yeah.
us. And so most SEOs you've met are all self-taught, all build themselves. And I think there's no training, or we don't know what's the future going to be, so we need to like educate and train ourselves, and the only way to do that is by being exposed to different sites and brands.
And I suppose it goes back to what we were discussing around the start. Well, we've discussed it multiple times about being outside your comfort zone, which I'm a huge advocate for. You know, if you feel like you shouldn't do something because there's a limitation, that probably means you should do it because you're going to find something new and learn something doing that. So it all does link back to that. Now, just to round off, just before we end here, Katerina, could you give us a quick fire in how you would define a successful leader within the digital marketing space? Just quick summary, maybe a few words of characteristics, traits a good leader has.
Okay, so I like I said, should be somebody who believes and trusts the team, somebody who is able to help them grow. I think I work with a lot of analysts and associates that been with the company for only 6 months, and I would say, here, go present in front of the leadership, send the email to the client. You do it. You can do it. And believing in them, putting them on the spot, putting the spotlight, and allowing them to grow.
Perfect, Katerina. That was brilliant. I can't believe that. It's brought us up to the 30-minute mark. That was probably one of the fastest webinars I've done. But I do thank you very much for taking time out of your day off to come and speak to us and the viewers. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday, whatever you've planned, and enjoy the weekend.
You too. Thank you so much.
Not a problem at all. All the best. Bye bye.
Bye.